What's up, Grace Harbor, and welcome to Set Sail. I'm excited to dive into Ecclesiastes with you guys, although I am just now realizing that I may have wanted to shoot these before I shaved off all of my beautiful facial hair because I'm not sure quite how I feel about video proof of my baby face being on the internet. But I digress. Like I said, I'm excited to dive into Ecclesiastes with you guys. Today we're going to be looking at chapters 1 through 6. Before we start, I kind of want to give you some context for this book. And there's really two ways we want to go about that. We want to look at who wrote it, or at least what viewpoint it's written through. And then we want to look at some common phrases and terms that are going to be used throughout this book that we want to define to help us with our understanding of it. So when we look at the author of Ecclesiastes, the prevailing theory is that Solomon is the one writing this book. Now, there is also a possibility that this is somebody else writing this book from the viewpoint of Solomon. This is a common practice during this time to write things and attribute it to other influential people of the time. But the important thing to look at as we go throughout this text is that whether Solomon wrote it or Solomon didn't write it, this is written through the point of view of Solomon. And that's going to shape how we read this text. Not only is this book written through the viewpoint of Solomon, but this is a Solomon in the later years. He's had all the wealth, he's had the wisdom, he's had the power, the influence. He's had it all. And he's had a lot of time to do a lot of things with everything he's been given. So that's kind of the setup for what we're looking at here in Ecclesiastes. Looking at the different words and phrases that are going to pop up throughout the book, there's really two big ones. The first is vanity. You're going to hear him talk about vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Vanity is going to pop up frequently throughout this book. When you're thinking of vanity, we're going to think of things like akin to a vapor. Things that are here one minute and gone the next. They have no permanence. They're not around for a long time. They're very, like I said, here one minute, gone the next. Nothing lasts with these things that are described as vanity. The other phrase that we're going to hear repeated often is the phrase under the sun. And that simply means just here on this earth. So Solomon is going to be looking at things under the sun, and he's going to be looking at these things to find satisfaction. And he's ultimately going to find that nothing on this earth under the sun provides that satisfaction. So I talked a little bit about how he's going to be looking for satisfaction. A lot of what this book is him testing different things, different methods to find satisfaction. And one of the important things to note here is that if anybody had the time and the resources to do some in-depth testing to find satisfaction, Solomon's it. Solomon's the guy. Again, he had the money, he had the influence, he had the power, he had the kingdom. He had everything. And so this is Solomon going through and saying, hey, I have tested every single thing that I can think of. I've tried to find satisfaction in wisdom. I've tried to find satisfaction in money. I've tried to find satisfaction in work. I've tried to find satisfaction in all sorts of things. And just in pleasure, I've tried to find satisfaction. And none of it lasts. There is no lasting satisfaction here. And so you'll see throughout that peppered in through this honestly kind of bleak picture he's painting, that he will describe these things as, hey, these are good things. There are a couple of different verses I'll highlight for you later where he talks about finding pleasure in your work and things like that. But what he's getting at is that these things in and of themselves, they don't provide any lasting satisfaction. And the key word there is in themselves. So what you'll notice as we look through these other verses that I'm going to highlight for you later is the presence of God, that God has given these things. Whereas when he's talking about his testing of them, you'll notice a significant lack of the presence of God. He'll say, I went and I tested this, that, and the other, and God is never mentioned. But when he's talking about how when we are meant to enjoy some of these things, he'll explicitly say that these things are given of God, and you'll see God's presence there. And so that's kind of the big thing to look for as we're reading this. Now, I want to challenge you before I let you go. This is a repetitive book, and this can be a bleak book. It's very easy to read this and have a very pessimistic viewpoint, feel a little bit of nihilism creeping in. I kind of want to challenge that for you, because for those who are not saved by grace, this is a very sad, bleak, pessimistic thing to read. It's saying there is no satisfaction. Nothing here on this earth will satisfy us ultimately. And that's a sad thing. But as a born-again believer, we know that there's more than just what's under the sun on this earth. And that's what Solomon is going to say later on when we're looking tomorrow towards the end of the book. But he starts to pepper in throughout here. He's going to say, hey, in God, in Christ is the ultimate satisfaction. He's testing all of these things. This is Solomon's research paper, essentially. And he's saying none of this provides satisfaction, but the God above it all, he is the ultimate satisfaction. So I did promise you to highlight some verses that I want you to kind of pay close attention to. They're going to kind of help bring you to back to that point of hopefulness and keep you out of the bleak stuff, because this is Solomon hinting at his ultimate conclusion later down in chapter 12. So we'll look at chapters 2, verses 24 through 26. Again, that's 2, 24 through 26. Chapter 3, verses 12 through 14. 3, 12 through 14, and chapter 5, verses 18 through 20. 5, 18 through 20. So I would challenge you and encourage you to go back to those verses, because they're going to hint at Solomon's conclusion later on. And then while you're reading, the other thing I want to encourage you to do is I want to encourage you to think about, where have you looked for satisfaction? Besides God, what things have you tried to find satisfaction in? Did it work? And if you did find satisfaction, did that satisfaction last? If you didn't find satisfaction, or the satisfaction was there for a time but didn't last, why do you think that is? Why do you think that satisfaction either wasn't there to begin with, or it was fleeting? Happy reading, and I look forward to speaking with you guys tomorrow.